That's like who we play first round no matter what, just because we're a second seed, so we're going to play our first seed. Any of those teams would be good games. I'm really not, worried about who we play. I think we're confident against every team in the playoffs. But if we had to pick one that we'd obviously want to play against, it would probably be EG. I think out of those three teams, that's probably the easiest first round matchup, other than Optic and Envy.
And I think as well, for you and the team and the whole feel that's going on at the minute, it's like, are you happy with where everything is with Luminosity? Or is it feeling confident going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think we're feeling confident going into playoffs. I know for myself and I know for my teammates, the beginning part of this year hasn't really been like a full explanation of the team that we are capable of being. I don't think our placings have really shown the potential that we have as a team, and I think towards the end of the year we're going to show that.
Awesome. Well, what I want to do is kind of go to some of the questions, because what it is here in the esports hub, we tweeted out and we obviously asked people in the community if they have any questions for you, Slacked, or anything they want to ask you, then they can fire them through. And we did actually get a few come through, and some of them are quite interesting. I would normally expect the questions to be really COD related, but the first one comes from Pentagon COD, and he asks, what is it you want to do when you finally retire from Call of Duty? So when you finally put the sticks down, you say, you know what, that's it, I'm done now. What is it you want to do?
I haven't given it too much thought, to be honest, because I plan on competing, for several more years for sure. And then, whatever happens after that happens, I probably will work in the industry somehow or be, related to it some way, just because I put, so many years of my life into this, and I don't think I'd want to fall, far from it. So probably do something with the industry, but if it wasn't for Call of Duty, I have absolutely no idea, what I'd be doing at this exact moment.
Would you not be taking like kind of a leaf out of TP's book and ended up on the CW caster's desk somewhere?
We'll see, man. Who knows? I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe 3 to 5 years from now. Who knows?
Well, James DB also comes in with a question of his own, and he says, "How important is it being focused in a game, and are there any tips for finding your zone at events?"
It's definitely important getting your head in the game. It's just like anything in life, playing a sport or playing video games. It's kind of the same thing. You got to have that right mentality going into the match. So it's always positive vibes. I may be listening to music or to help me get focused. Just knowing who I'm going to be playing against. But it's definitely really important that your head's in the right place when you're playing.
And that's a good question as well. What's the song choice then for Slacked? What's the Slacked song to get him going, pumped, ready? Is it Eye of the Tiger? Is it Barbie Girl? Like what is it that gets Slacked pumped and ready to win?
To be honest with you, I don't think I have like a specific song that I listen to before I play. Really, it's kind of just whatever's on my playlist at the time. Just good vibes music, just something that get me in a good mood going into the match.
Must be happy days then, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Must be. Get those good vibes flowing. Legacy also asked the question, how important is equipment? So, we've got the likes of chairs, we've got scuff controllers, monitors, Astro headsets. I can see you're on a chair of your own with your Astros on. So, I mean, is it important or is it just the show?
I'd say the most important thing that all those pro players use is the controller. I think with, a scuff in your hands, I think it allows you to do so much in game that you can't do with the normal controller unless you play claw. I'd definitely say out of all the things that pro gamers use, that is definitely the most important. A monitor, it's not as big of a deal. The controller is all the gameplay that's really shown. So I definitely think that's like the main important piece. A chair is a chair. You could sit on a folding chair or a wooden chair. When it matters, it's not going to change the way you play the game. Mm-hmm. And a monitor is not going to, reflect the way you play the game either. So I just definitely think the controller is like the most important part.
So speaking of the controllers, then have you had the chance to play with the new Impact?
Yes, I have. I actually really enjoy the controller.
Is it better than the original Scuff? Is the Impact the better version? Can you see the differences?
I'd say it's all preference. The controller's a little bit bigger. Fits a person for bigger hands. I have bigger hands, so I actually enjoy the controller. Some people who have smaller hands may enjoy the PS4 controller. I think they just gave that option out there for people so they could have, two different variables of what they want to use. Not everyone has to use the PS4 controller. Maybe people could use the Impact if, PS4 controller isn't, comfortable in their hands. So, like I said, I think it's an all preference thing. It's a good controller, and if you like the way it feels, then you should use it.
The last question coming in from the community was from Prof EU, and he asked, how do you feel the team has changed since the start of Infinite Warfare? Obviously now, this is probably for me personally as well. This is the best I've seen your team play. When I was watching you at the GPL, you guys really wanted it. You wanted to be there. You wanted to make the playoffs. You could see it in the way you played as a team. And I've been watching. I think I was watching actually the Money 8's one of your streams a couple of nights ago, and Sam is on a different level recently. He's just like been absolutely incinerating everybody, so you can tell he's ready. He's definitely been putting his hours in. But for you personally, how do you feel the team has developed since the start of the game?
We've definitely developed a lot. Going into the beginning of the game, we knew picking up Saints that we're going to be a really strong respawn team. We knew that wasn't going to be the problem ever. We knew that we could compete with Optic, with every single team in respawn, and that wasn't going to be a problem. But we knew that if we didn't fix our search and destroy, if we couldn't consistently win one search and destroy in a series, that was going to be our downfall of this team. And that's really what we've been focusing on and just working on our teamwork and, small talk and just communication. And that's really helped us out. I think in the Global Pro League, we had the best S&D statistics or best win-loss ratio at the group. I think we went 5-3 there. So, if we can continue to do that going into this playoffs, I could see us doing really, really well and a lot better than we've done this past year. Like at Dallas, we lost Game 5 to Envy, FaZe, and Optic, and all those series consist of 2 search and destroy losses and a respawn by less than 5 points. So I think if we can buckle down on our search and destroy, like I said, win one of those in a series, it's looking good for us going into playoffs.
I mean, Paradox, Tony, any questions that you guys have that for Slacked? Anything you want to kind of find out about him or the team?
Yeah, I was thinking, so you already talked about sort of buckling down, focusing on the respawns and the small talk and everything in game. How has those things and sort of that focus on the respawn transferred over into that search and destroy? Because as you mentioned, you guys had standout performance in that game mode during the GPL. So starting there from that improvement, what have you guys really done to get better at that mode, I guess is really what I'm trying to get to.
Well, gun skill has never been a problem with our team. Like I said, we can compete with every single team in respawn. So if we could just transition that over into search and destroy, we're going to be fine. We have some of the best gun skill in the game, and we just haven't found a way to use it. And I think we're finally figuring out how to work the map together, how to use our teamwork, how to small talk and communicate with each other on baiting and switching different things. And it's really helped us out. We're starting to, like I said, use the gun skill that we have and not play scared and play confident, search and destroy. And it's really been paying off.
Tony, is there any questions that you have for Slacked? Anything
so I sort of run and own a dodgy little amateur org. And so I've got players that are underneath me all the time, like in the amateur scene and that. And so when people come on, the one thing I generally ask them is, what advice could you give to me to give to them sort of thing? So if they're saying, what's the best thing I could do to try to get my name out there, to try to get known, to try to get the chances? Because I know a lot of the people in the chat now will be at that sort of amateur level. What sort of advice would you give to them to sort of get themselves out there, if that makes sense, or what they should be doing with their time?
It's like with anything in life. When people ask me this question, I tell them to never give up. If you want to do something in life and you want to be successful at it, you got to give it 110% every single day, and you got to put a ton of time into it. If you want to be successful in Call of Duty, you got to think us pro players who are already pro, we are grinding every single day, 8 to 10 hours, putting tons and tons of time in. If you're an amateur player and you want to be as good as us, if not better, you're going to have to put in that much time, maybe even more. You need to watch streams. You need to watch people play the game. You need to figure out what works for you, and you need to come to tournaments and stick with a core set of players that want to learn and continue to get better. Then that's really how you're going to see growth. If you just continue to swap around player by player, you're never going to learn anything. And like the famous quote is, losing is learning. So if you're going to sit there and lose as a team, maybe you'll figure out how, what works for your team, what works for those players, and, really how to mold and form into, that pro player that you want to be one day. So it's like, you just can't give up on anything. If you're going to half-ass it, you're not going to be, as good as you potentially could be if you put everything that you have into it.
I think that's the perfect answer, and the answer that everybody's really looking for, and I hope everybody in the chat kind of takes that on with them as well. And while we're talking about the chat, guys, you are free to ask any question towards Slacked. We'll pick a few from there as well. Now, I know that Highlight Waves did ask a question in the chat, and he asked, so, Slacked, when was it you started competitive Call of Duty? What game title, and how long has it been?
I started competitive Call of Duty in Black Ops 1. I started right at the end. I went to 2 events. I think it was Anaheim and Providence, which was like the nationals of that tournament. Those were my first 2 tournaments. I think I was 14 going on 15, and those were the first 2 tournaments I ever competed at.
And that's the question, really. Do you prefer the boots on the ground, or you like the jetpacks?
I got mixed feelings with it. I think that boots on the ground is awesome. I think you can outplay people, outsmart people. But then again, I think the jetpacks kind of throws some raw talent into it. I think Black Ops 3 was a really good game. I think Infinite Warfare could be good. Some of the spawns and some of the things, though, just kind of separate it from being a really, really good jetpack game. But I like the mixture of it. I think it'll definitely be different going back to straight boots on the ground next year, and I think it'll probably help the scene out a lot. But who knows, man? It'll be interesting.
Well, I don't want to throw you under the bus, Slack, but we do this, don't we, every single time we have a guest?
You're bringing this question out
we
again.
Have a guest, come on. I love this question. No. It's so fun. I love getting the absolute honest opinion from our guests when we ask it them. So we are going into World War II. We are going to boots on the ground next. But if you had to pick one player from your team that you would say is an absolute jetpacker and will be awful at boots on the ground, who would it be?
Absolute jetpacker. Got to go with Classic. When he's played, he's been playing for a while, and I mean, his jetpack placings have been better than his other his boots on the ground placings. So I guess you have to go with that.
Right. Well, there's one thing I want to do as well that I think if anybody that's been in the chat, no, this is good. Anybody that's ever been in the chat and has ever watched our interview series before will know that we used to play this little game towards the end of our interview series, and I want to see what Slack's opinion on it will be. So basically, Slack, it's going to be a simple case of I'll say a name, I'll say something like car, and you tell me the first thing that comes to your head. Okay, when I say that. Okay. All right. So we're going to go through with Call of Duty. We'll start off slow first, but then we'll go through and we'll do things relative to Call of Duty. All right.
All right.
Okay. So car.
Fast.
House.
People.
Call of Duty.
Killing.
MLG.
People.
Eagles.
Not worth it.
Luminosity.
Awesome organization.
Sam.
Sam?
Yeah. Octane.
Jetpacker.
Jetpacker. GPL.
Amazing.
And finally, Courage.
0-15.
I love that game. I love playing with our guests. We need to cover it a little bit more, but you had some great answers. I think my favourite one was the Eagles. Not worth it. Not worth it was the answer that came through there. I'm trying to see if we've got some more questions coming through. So Quinn says, in your opinion, Slacks, who is the best player in the European scene at this current moment in time?
Gotta go with Bance. The kid since Black Ops 3 Champs has been killing it. He's continued into this game being a top player in Europe, and I definitely think he's probably like the most talented player there.
Mm-hmm. And you think that's continued through from obviously Black Ops 3 as well with obviously the Champs performance. He had kind of his name stuck out then. Out of the few teams who qualified, we've asked that one before. That was who would you want to play first? Kind of really for you, what you're saying there, Slack, is you're just ready for whoever it is that you end up coming up against, and you got to have that confidence going through. What else have we got? What about your team just works as a team in game on a different level? So what is it about your team that's special? Like, what is it about your team that allows you to beat the likes of some of these top American teams?
I think it's just a raw talent. All four players on my team just have the ability to go off. Like, we could all go on a streak, and we could, like, shut down the game, like, that quick. It's like in the blink of an eye, we could be on a 5, 6, 7 kill streak, and it's really going to pull our team and separate us from, being really far ahead or really far under. So it kind of just, the ability for our team, like I said, to just catch fire. I think that separates a lot of teams. Some players maybe don't have a player that can do that, and we just have really good gun skill, and we have good teamwork when we're on point.
Well, I obviously expect you to, place yourself top. I wouldn't expect you to say you're going to finish anywhere else at the Season 1 playoffs this weekend. But say you're in first place, then who's second, third? Like, where do you think it's going to match up, and how do you think it's going to finish those final standings?
That's a hard question just because you don't know how the bracket's going to work out. Like, we're going to figure out here pretty soon who's going to play who in first-round matchups. So, I mean, I could sit here and say, Optic United maybe second, third, but the bracket may not even work out to where that can happen. So, we may end up playing EG first round, and then we could play Optic second round or something. So, somebody is going to get, messed up in that order. But I definitely think, you got to go with the teams that have been doing good. Optic, EG. I think we are going to turn heads this weekend. We haven't really been considered like a top 4 team. I think everyone's kind of been looking at Optic, United, and then FaZe as like that number 3 team. But I think if, like I said, if we can take that search and destroy this weekend, like we're going to turn a lot of heads and we could potentially win the thing.
And speaking of search and destroy, just to chime in here a bit, we're coming up on we just passed like the 1 month anniversary of Breakout. What have been your thoughts on playing that map in the rotation?
I have scrimmed the map about 3 or 4 times, and I've put it on LAN about once. I played it once on LAN at the Global Pro League. So we haven't really had too much LAN practice with it. I don't think any team really has. It's still kind of fresh. There's still a lot of things we can learn and a lot of things that, other teams can learn as well. So I think going into that map, it's kind of just whoever kind of blind counters the people right now, because there's, it's a 3-lane map. It's very straight up, very simple. It's not too confusing or anything. So like I said, it's really new to a lot of these teams, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out at playoffs.
Well, since we're talking about the playoffs and everything, I'm sure Slacked has got to go and get that practice in. Obviously, his team will be waiting in anticipation to find out who it is that they come up against. And, well, that's going to be the end of it here for us at the Esports Hub Talk Show. So we just want to say, everybody here from the Esports Hub, thank you very much, Slacked, for joining us and being a part of the team for tonight. Also, thank you very much to you, Paradox, for joining us again.
Always fun. You already know.
I already know. Don't you worry about that. Tony, once again, it's been great having your opinion as usual.
I'm off back to work now, aren't I?
Yeah,
he's just gonna sprint out the door.
He's gonna go back and tell them all about what a fantastic evening.
I live in the army, mate, so it's the benefit I can nip home to do things like this.
I'm sure they're gonna be so interested in finding out what you just did this evening as well. Don't worry, I talked about COD for about an hour. They're gonna be so thrilled and intrigued to find out about that. But once again, like I said, thank you to everybody that has joined us today, and thank you to the most important people when it is that we do our Esports Hub Talk Show, and that is you guys in the chat. Thank you very much for all your questions. Thank you very much for your involvement, and thank you very much for just generally supporting us every single week when we do this. But like I said, guys, that's everything done for us here on the Esports Hub Talk Show. Make sure that you do pay attention to the Global Pro League playoffs draw happening just after this show. We'll see happening right now. I wish we could cut to it. We're going right now to the Global Pro League. Turn it over to there. But like I said, guys, anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. And with that being said, good night.